Hello, welcome again. My name is Victor Payne. Welcome to Miracle on 54th Street. I have a good friend of mine, Jeff, and he has an awesome testimony he wants to share with you all, okay? This is it.
Hello. Hey, my name is Jeff Garriott, and it was about 2013, and I was living in Hawaii, and I was actually on the phone with the IRS. I was on hold for a couple hours, and then all of a sudden, I just realized that I was having an experience with God. And so then I'm sitting here with the IRS, like on hold, and I just hung up. And then all of a sudden, I had never felt more love in my life. It just came into the room and it just completely swept me into him or it. All of a sudden, I started to understand things from the Bible that I never knew. I started to understand things about myself that I never knew before. And basically, God told me I was perfect. And I was like, how could I be perfect? I got all this stuff that I deal with, in life. And he said, well, what did he say? He said, you are so more than enough. I can't compare you to anyone else. There's no one like you. You're different than everybody else. And that's just the same with everybody. We're made with our finger, our, what's it called?
Index.
Our our fingers. Everything's different, everybody's different, and everybody's a billion times. Yeah, fingerprint. Forgot the word. Anyway, so all of a sudden, he starts taking me through the Bible, and he just starts showing me all these things about how he saved the world. And so, how far do you want me to go into this?
Go ahead, good.
He began to show me that there are all through Scripture, there were the firstborn and the secondborn in all the stories, from Adam to Jesus, from Cain and Abel, Jacob, Esau, Leah, Rachel. All of a sudden, you have every firstborn they're the first part of a two-part series in a sense. So it's like all of a sudden, you're first born in the natural, then you're born of the Spirit. And actually, that's not taking away from anything. That's taking two things and putting them together. Just like in the story of Jacob and Esau, it was Jacob put on Esau. And so all of a sudden, I just see all these stories, and it was never the firstborn that got the inheritance. It was always the secondborn. But the secondborn was part of the firstborn because first we have a natural body, and then we get a spiritual, and it comes together in one person. That's what we all represent. So anyway, he revealed all this to me at that time, and it changed the way that I think. And I can't think of anything the same as I did before that moment.
So how do you see yourself now from before?
Well, here's what's interesting. So before, there was always, like with Christianity, there was always a bit of the natural's bad and the spiritual's good. And so all of a sudden, what happened was all of a sudden he was able to show me that I could, my natural person is an inheritance as well as my spiritual. So the two, so I don't have to be upset about who I am as a natural person. And there's something in religion that always kind of makes the natural bad and the spiritual good. Not always, but I'm saying in general, and that's the part of Christianity that most people are involved in, and somehow I got slipped out of it just from an encounter.
You're referring to killing the flesh. That's what
Right, and actually that's another thing. I heard him say to me one time, he says, I don't want you to die to your flesh. I want you to end your relationship with just you. So it's like, that makes sense because the flesh is singular and the spirit is plural. And so he basically was saying, you die to just you. And that's what happens in marriage. You die to just yourself. You don't die to yourself. You're totally involved. You got an opinion. And actually children even, when you take the man and the woman, they make a baby, which is the story, according to Christianity, of God and man together. It doesn't look like the man. It looks like the man and the woman. So you're not producing things for God. Religion will always make you feel like you need to produce for Him, in some way, like he's a more like a mythical Zeus in a way, but he lives inside of us, and this is the house He created for Him to live in, just like even in the desert. In the desert, it was a tent. So this is what He was showing you. There's glory inside of this thing that moves around, that has the light in it, And so you're like, all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, that's us. And that's why the New Covenant always talks about, like, we're a tent, we're a vessel of God, and then He dwells inside of us. So we're His house. And so Moses proved that in the desert.
So how long has it been since you had your encounter?
It's been 9 years.
And then how do you see yourself now moving forward? Are you more involved? Is He more taking over, and you letting go more of Him and less of you, in terms of? So there's more of a. See, anytime I try to, that wording's fine, you know what I mean. But It's every time I try to go in that wording, it's just more of us. And that's inviting. So what happens is when I hear something, it's always better than I thought before. When I hear something and I'm like, oh my goodness, you're so much better. You're more of a person I want to be around. So God all of a sudden becomes less of like that Zeus character that we sort of merged with Christianity or whatever. And now He's more of someone. Like when Moses came off the mountain, he had He had the law once, and then He destroyed it, and then He made another one. And I feel like we have a law unto ourselves as humanity. Like it's elementary teachings of the world, and then all of a sudden we wake up to the relationship of marriage, and now we don't have to walk as a slave. We get to walk as a son. So are you involved in the church now?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in that.
Okay. So I was at a meeting. Yeah, that's another miracle. I was at a meeting in Georgia, about 45 minutes from here, and all of a sudden, there's somebody, a big speaker came in, and then they wanted to continue meetings the next day, and we were renting out our spots. So we went to another place, and then to another place, and then all of a sudden somebody came there and was like, you can come to our church for free and finish off all your meetings. And the day I showed up at that meeting, the presence of the Lord I just felt Him come over me, and He just says, I want you to go to church at the Father's house. And I happened to be in Conyers, Georgia, and I didn't love the church. I didn't know why I was there. I didn't really believe exactly like them. But ultimately, these people were listening to someone else, Damon Thompson, and at the same time, we were just listening to this guy that we really enjoyed. And then all of a sudden, he sent one of his spiritual sons to Covington, Georgia. I ended up coming over from Conyers to Covington, which is about a 10-minute drive. And all of a sudden, I was in his house one day, in his church, because he was doing it at his house. And God said, where are you going to church? And I said, I'm in the Father's house. And because it's so much better than a building in a sense, that's all whatever. That's not really, it doesn't do with buildings or not buildings. It's to do with, whether someone's going to abuse you in authority in a sense, or they're going to really be out for your better good and want to help you to grow. So I like the father-son relationship. I like family relationships, opposed to like big ministries that are kind of, trying to exhaust you sometimes to get what they're doing done, or get one man's dream done. Like a family, usually, the father will give up his life in a sense, like what you were saying about you give up your life for your children, and and you have a life too, so you're not giving it up. You're just entering into your children's life with them, and so they're part of you. And so when you think of yourself, they're in that thought, and that's where I feel like God is. One time I heard Him say, "Expand your me," and I was like, "Expand your me," and later I just realized it's like, make your me bigger. So I feel like when the Messiah came and died on the cross,
he expanded his me. He absorbed the world into himself, like the story of Noah. Everything got inside of him. And then the wrath came. And then what came out after that was a new world without the curse. And that took us getting inside of him. And then everything that died outside of the ark was the single idea, the idea that we were alone, the orphan mentality.
All right, now tell us, have you been blessed? How you been blessed lately, and what you do if anyone want to come to Covington, if they can look you up?
Okay. Well, I'll just say my church is the Shepherd's Tent that I go to. It's in Covington, Georgia. But what I do here is I'm a realtor, and I'm trying to get into the Airbnb, so I started those. So those are going well. And, we have a lot of movies here, and so people come in for all kinds of reasons. It's really strange. It's not a very big city, but it has a neat square, so you can't film that everywhere because of the way it's set up. But yeah, I don't know.
You want to give me information in case anyone wants to come and look you up?
Sure. My name is Jeffrey Garriott. And what kind of information should I give?
Where you located, address, phone number if they want to come.
Oh, you mean,
your business information.
Oh, my business information. Yeah. I'm part of American Realty. So, let's see. Should I show my business card?
Yeah.
And then, so this is, and so my email is Jeffrey with REYDGarriott@gmail.com. That's my real estate email. And then on Airbnb, the one house I've got going on right now is called Walk to Covington. And so you could look that up and you could stay there if you wanted to come and stay.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, there we go. So another testimony from a great friend of mine as well that we met here at Bread and Butter. Again, share these videos with other people, okay? This is the purpose of it because, again, as I mentioned earlier that in the previous video, that people are suffering. They are depressed and they don't know any way out. Even a lot of churches are not really teaching what they need to get out of that depression. But your testimony can make a difference. Also sharing this video. Thank you, and I'll see you next time on Miracle on 54th Street. Have a blessed day.